Hello, and welcome to the Financial Aid Podcast for George Fox University. My name is Jordan Nelson, and I am the Scholarship Resource Coordinator here at George Fox. Today, I'm going to be giving you some information on the first step in the scholarship process, finding scholarship leads. So, here's what you can expect from this podcast. I'll provide you with some search methods and practical steps for the scholarship search that apply to traditional undergrad students, students in our adult degree program, and even our graduate and international students. These principles are essentially universal. I'll provide a brief overview of the scholarship process as a whole, and to sum up, I'll be sure to touch on your next steps. On the other hand, there are some things I will not be talking about today. First off, I do not have a personalized list of scholarships for you. This is something that only you will be able to build. I also won't be talking about applying for scholarships yet, as that is step 3, a step that I'll cover in another podcast. And finally, I will not be talking about the search engines and databases that are available for looking for scholarships. They are not worth anyone's time, unfortunately. They are almost impossible to navigate and incredibly dangerous because of how vulnerable your personal information is when it's being sent to faceless corporations that may or may not actually offer a legitimate scholarship. Not to mention, any scholarships you find on those websites are going to be competitive at the national, if not international level. So long and short of it is that I would never recommend anyone use scholarship databases and search engines, so I'm not going to help you use them. All right, now for an overview of the scholarship process. This is a 3-part strategy adapted from a book written by Jen and Kelly Tanab, who put themselves through Ivy League schools on external scholarships and then decided to write a book about it. They publish a new edition every year called The Ultimate Scholarship Book, 2018, 2019, etc., if you're interested in picking one up for yourself. So as for the steps, step 1 is what we're going to go over today. It's how to find the most viable scholarship leads by essentially asking the right people the right questions. Step 2 is the sorting step. You don't want to apply for every scholarship you find because it forces you to limit how much time you spend on any one scholarship. The best strategy is to spend more time on 2 to 3 scholarships rather than a little bit of time on 10 to 15 scholarships. Step 3 is where we think about how to market yourself to donors. Donors won't pick the most impressive candidate. They will choose the person who can effectively communicate that he or she cares about the same things that the donor cares about. You can find podcasts on Step 2 and Step 3 on the Financial Aid webpage. All right, and now for Step 1. First things first, always file your FAFSA. It has never been easier to complete the FAFSA, and some scholarship committees will require you to complete it even if they don't award scholarships according to financial need. So even if you don't think you'll receive any need-based financial aid, it is still worth submitting your application. Also, incoming freshmen and traditional undergraduate students are eligible for various scholarships offered by George Fox University donors, so be sure to check out the Financial Aid webpage for more information on those. Lastly, you don't need to be going to school in your home state to qualify for state scholarships. Every state is different as far as what opportunities they offer, so you want to check out your official state financial aid page. Just make sure that when you're looking at the state's official scholarship page, you're looking at the one maintained by the state government. Just Googling state scholarships will get you lost on those search engines and databases I talked about earlier. Now let's talk about some of the types of organizations that are even offering scholarships. These are the people you'll be looking for. Civic groups, clubs, nonprofits, local businesses and agencies, city and county governments, credit unions, churches, and local employers. all of these organizations are structured pretty differently and all have different methods and means. But at the same time, they all have one thing in common. They're made up of people who are trying to make a positive impact on a specific field, people group, community, industry, etc. So you'll want to be directing your search towards the groups and individuals that you have something in common with. For example, let's take a look at a scholarship donor named Mike. Mike really cares about kids, so he decides to start a club that holds local events and outings for foster kids. He and his club hosted a fundraiser to help cover the club's expenses, and he found that after the fundraiser was done, he actually had funds left over in his budget, and so he decided to offer a scholarship for college students who are interested in helping kids as well. He doesn't care what your major is, so long as you can convince him that you'll use your degree to help kids one way or another. He doesn't have the time to review a bunch of different applications for his scholarship, so he doesn't try posting online where anyone can see it. He tells people about the scholarship, but a majority of them forget because none of them are college students and the information really isn't relevant to them. This situation is very, very common. Donors don't have the time or resources to actively advertise their scholarships. What they're doing is they're waiting for a student to take the initiative and to come to them and inquire about a scholarship. Leads aren't going to come to you. You have to go after them. So now let's look at a student who's searching for scholarship leads. The student's name is Andy, and he's also interested in helping kids. He would be a good candidate for Mike's scholarship, but he's never heard of Mike or his club, and he doesn't really know what scholarships are out there. So what he's going to have to do is learn how to network. Networking is that nebulous word everyone is throwing around these days, but no one ever explains what it is or how to do it. Hopefully, I'll be able to fill in those gaps for you. Networking is a matter of asking the right people the right questions. Now, this doesn't mean that you should ask as many people as possible about scholarships that they've heard of. That's not going to work, and you're going to waste a lot of time. We want to be intentional about who you're asking and careful about the types of questions that you're asking. So let's take a look at one of the people Andy will want to talk to. Andy is friends with a woman named Anne, and he knows that she also really likes kids, so he thinks she might know about some organizations that he doesn't that might offer scholarships to students interested in helping kids. So he asks her the question, do you know of any organizations that offer scholarships? Anne actually volunteers with Mike's club, and he's even told her about the scholarship before. But the information wasn't relevant to her. She didn't need a scholarship, so she quickly forgot about it. So when she tries to think of different places she knows of that actually offer scholarships, she can't think of any, and so she tells Andy that she can't help him. This is another very common problem with the scholarship search. So few people know about the scholarships available that it's not worth your time to bring them up. In fact, you probably don't want to mention them at all when you're trying to find scholarship donors. Instead, you want to ask the questions that will help you identify the organizations that are making a positive contribution to the same field that you care about. If you're getting a degree in the medical field, think about the people in your life that are making positive contributions to the medical field and ask them how they're doing it. Are they working, interning, volunteering in the medical field? Where are they doing it? Any of the different people, businesses, nonprofits, clubs, government agencies, community organizations that they point you towards are the most likely ones to offer scholarships specific to your unique interests. And don't limit yourself to what you're majoring in either. Andy doesn't necessarily have to get a degree directly related to working with children in order to help the kids. He could get a degree in accounting or history and still find a way to care for kids in his professional or personal life. Donors aren't necessarily looking for someone to be getting the quote-unquote right degree. They're just looking for someone who can convince them that they will use their education, regardless of what they get it in, to make a positive impact in the same area that the donor is trying to make a positive impact. So, who are the people that you can reach out to for connections and leads? First and foremost, yourself. You never want to undersell your own connections. Who have you volunteered with? Who do you bank with? Where do you go to church? Where do you work? Also, there's professors. Professors are your industry experts. Their industry is not education just because they're teachers. Their industry is social work, English, nursing, engineering, illustration. Whatever it is that they're teaching is what their industry is, which means that they know of organizations and people and businesses within the field that are looking to make a positive impact. Think of family, friends, coworkers, their community members. They know about people in the community looking to make that positive impact. Churches tend to know better than most which people, agency, businesses, and civic groups in the community are the major community supporters. At the end of the day, everyone you know volunteers with different civic groups, patronizes different businesses, banks with different credit unions, utilizes different agencies, goes to different churches, and works for different employers. They have the connections that you need. You just need to be intentional about who you're asking and what kinds of questions you're asking them. So going back to Andy, he was able to ask Anne how she was investing in kids, and she told him about Mike's club. And then Andy was able to ask Mike if he offered any scholarships. When Andy spoke to Mike, all he had to say was, "Hi, my name is Andy. I heard about your club from Anne, and she says that you guys are doing some great work with foster kids. That's something that I'm really interested in as well, and I'm trying to get a college degree, so I wonder if your organization offered a scholarship I could apply for." It was that easy. Just a 10-minute conversation with Anne, a 10-minute conversation with Mike, and Andy was able to find a scholarship where he's not competing with the entire internet. In fact, it's specific to his community, and he was able to make direct contact with a donor, increasing his chances of getting the scholarship even more. Not to mention, during the 10 minutes with Anne and Mike, he could get a bunch of other leads to reach out to based on the connections that they have. So, since this process is pretty simple, you don't need to spend a large amount of time on this to be successful. I generally recommend students spend 1 hour per week on this, and that they continue to do it all year round. It's a myth that scholarships are only available during certain times of the year. Students are entering and exiting college fall, winter, spring, summer term, and donors offer scholarship opportunities all year round as well. You do not have to treat the scholarship search like a part-time job you do 5 to 10 hours per week. Don't make this process into a drudgery. You're going to be doing this all year round, and we want to protect you from burnout. So 1 to 2 hours a week is going to do you well. So what now? First, find that 1 hour per week in your schedule. Put it in your calendar and protect that time. Second, don't forget to check out that state scholarship I mentioned at the beginning. Lastly, start reaching out and asking the right people the right questions. Once you're done with those steps, then you'll want to check out our Step 2 podcast, where we discussed how to determine which scholarships are the ones that you actually want to apply for. You can find that recording on our Financial Aid Podcast webpage. And if you remember nothing else today, remember that finding scholarships is all about asking the right people the right questions. This has been Jordan Nelson on the George Fox Financial Aid Podcast. Thanks for joining me today, and good luck on your search.